Welcome everybody to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today I have Julie Lavoice and her husband, also known as Junkshop Library, who's got a great channel. And as I was going to say before we got going, and then decided we'll talk about it for a little bit before we get into the deconversion stories you guys have. Your show where you read from the Bible always cracks me up every time I see your facial expressions after you read something ridiculous. Right?
And
yeah, you guys might hear a bit of an echo, but they only have the one computer. So it might come through because they can't do two headphones. I guess you guys need one of them double headphone jacks you can punch in there.
Yeah, which we do not.
I have one.
I'm sorry in American Sign Language, so drink. If you every time I say I'm sorry, just go ahead and drink.
It's a drinking game now with I'm sorry?
It is.
That's weird because being Canadian, we say sorry a lot, so right? You guys are going to be drinking a lot. So.
I know. Our livers will not survive. No.
All right, so let's get into it. Why don't you guys take me back to pretty much when you first started thinking that these beliefs in deities and whatnot were nonsensical, and then your journey out of that into becoming the activist that you are today.
Oh wow. Okay, well he's gonna go first because he's amazing.
No, because mine is shorter.
Yours is shorter, but you also just tell them. Well, you do your thing. You do your thing. I love you.
Well, I love you too.
Thank you.
Well, I used to think I was raised very conservative Christian, and then I heard some other people's deconversion stories and discovered that I didn't rank very high on that spectrum. But I was raised a United Methodist by a delightful but very religious couple.
And they are. They're lovely.
Yes, they are. On both those counts. Delightful and very religious.
Lovely, yeah. And very religious, yeah.
My father's a minister, and my mother is a minister's wife. And so they raised myself and my siblings.
Makes sense.
It does.
Very, very literally with the Bible. The first weird encounter I had with the Bible and faith was when I was about 6, and I discovered that I could not command shrubbery.
And we want shrubbery.
Well, Jesus says that if your faith is small as a mustard seed, you can say to this olive tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea. So I would practice on the trees in the backyard. And then flagellate myself for not having enough faith because the tree wasn't going walkabout when I told it to. So that was.
You didn't go apeshit on the tree like you did with the fig tree because it didn't have fruit?
No, lacking the power to make it move, I also lacked the power to make it wither. But so I sort of stagnated at that level of, it's all true, I just apparently don't have the force. For about the next 15 years, and one afternoon when I was about 15 or 16, I was lost in thought, thinking about things religious, as one does. And I suddenly realized that one of the foundational doctrines with which I had been raised, which was Jesus will set you on fire after you die if you're bad,
as was I.
Didn't work.
Yeah, right?
Yes, exactly. Because what I realized in a flash of epiphany was that no one has done enough shit to warrant torment everlasting. Hitler, Pol Pot, Albert Fish, it doesn't matter. There comes a point where they have to have made up for it.
Suffered enough.
They have
On
to,
some
exactly.
level.
They have to have suffered enough to have atoned.
Yeah.
And
And
if
that's
you
hard
don't,
to say for Hitler, but I'm with you.
but given eternity spread before you,
Yeah.
there would eventually be a point. I mean, even if you want to go eye for an eye and have him undergo
Mm-hmm.
everything everyone his doctrines and practices affected,
Oh, yes.
at that point, anything beyond that is not justice but vengeance.
Yes. And in fact,
And if
people...
it then, and like I said, this all happened very fast in my head, and it's just been a matter of putting together how to express it later. But when I realized that if God has instituted a doctrine of infinite punishment for finite crime, he's either completely immoral or he's so horrendously bad at math that he's not worth worshiping on that ground alone.
Fair.
And by the time I finished that conversation with myself, I realized that if that wasn't true and that didn't work, all of the rest of it was probably bullshit too. And 10 minutes later, I was a stone cold atheist.
At 15,
Wow.
which I find amazing. You're fantastic. Truly. Love you.
To atheism
To
and critical
atheism.
thinking.
And critical thinking. To critical thinking, everybody. Yeah. Okay, Neil, any comments, questions for Junkshop? I'm specifically not using his real name because his father is currently a minister.
Right.
And what people may not know about the Methodist Church is ministers can be ousted by their you don't call them parishioners, what do you call them? I was raised Catholic.
Congregants.
Congregants. The congregation can say, oh, the minister's eldest son is an atheist? No, you're not fit to be our minister. So his father is still working. So I'm trying very hard not to say my husband's name, real name, which is tricky. So if
Wait,
anyone
his name is Tricky? That's kind of,
no.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Why not? Yeah. So I'm gonna be very careful with my Cabernet Sauvignon and not saying your actual name. I love you. Right? And you would actually really dig his real name, but I can't say it, so whatever. Anyway, I'll tell you.
You'll have to private message me his real name, and then
I
I
will.
can totally dox. Somebody's like Tricky doxed.
All right. So
People say hi, Tricky.
Hi, yeah, sure. Well, that's lovely, actually.
Fuck, that's going to be your new nickname, Tricky.
Oh,
Tricky.
fuck.
Oh, fantastic.
Actually, I can deal with that. That's all right. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
I've been called worse.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
I got you. Okay, I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. Drink, everybody. Drink. I said that before, Neil. Sorry. In the chat, I was like, look,
You've now said it 3 times.
Yeah, I apologize way too much. I might as well be Canadian. I'm actually descended from a Canadian.
That's where it comes from. It's in the blood.
Thank you. Thank you.
Genetic, is it?
It's apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, so Monsieur Lavoice immigrated illegally from Canada with his wife and 8 children. And then when the census guy came around, he said, I was born here. What? I don't know what you mean. So anyway, my French accent sucks, sorry. That's the
Better
American
than mine.
Yeah.
You see,
Okay,
we don't
so-
care about French on the West Coast, so
Oh, no. Oh.
nobody here speaks it. Although
Je suis juste désolé. Oh.
I know, but even our street signs don't have French on them here like they do out east. So
Yeah.
because we're all like English based here. So
Oh, well, for sure. Okay, so his the things you learn. That's
hang on, Julie.
Yeah.
I have a message for you from Miss Sassy.
Oh, Miss Sassy, I love you. Sister.
That's what she said. She said, tell her.
No. We were talking about how she and I both have French ancestors. So I was like, oh, we're family. That's just, it is. I mean, I should clear, well, I guess in all fairness, I should clarify for Miss Sassy, my mother is half German, half Scottish. My father is French, Scot-Irish, Dutch, and English. So I'm an American mutt. I have a cold nose. It's, what it is. And yeah. So that's that. But sassy, no, my French girl from another mother. Like, I'm right there with you. That's fine.
No, Sassy's amazing, and she's gonna actually do a live stream when she does her song thing for that contest that she's going into. So that should be.
I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, we want to hear you. We want to hear you sing. It's going to be awesome. And Neil, you were so encouraging.
Well, I try to be, because I think she's got real talent when it comes to singing. So.
Yeah.
Doorknob Head says you're doing awesome.
Oh, thank you, Doorknob Head. I was really nervous. So I was in the chat beforehand, like,
really?
Yeah, talking about how nervous I was, and Inquisitive Quandary. Thank you, my fellow Southern American. Thank you so much. He was like, hey, go watch this 3-minute video on like how in the scope of history, you don't really matter. And I did. I was like, right on. That's fantastic. Will not be noticed by history. If I totally fuck this up, it's fine. And I'm teasing, and I'm teasing. That was actually very helpful.
Sassy wants to know if you're on Facebook.
I am, but and Sassy, you absolutely may follow. Julie Lavoice is my real name. By the way. However, Sassy, FYI, are my godmother, my mom, my dad. Now, my parents they just turned 77 yesterday. Yeah, they have the same birthday. Oh, it's weird. It's a whole story, dude. It's a whole thing. But anyway, I don't want to get off on tangent, because we only have an hour. And I haven't even gotten to my deconversions plural yet. There's 2. So anyway, but Sassy, I am on Facebook as Julie Lavoice. Go search for me and send me a friend request. I would love to be your friend on Facebook. It's cool. That's awesome. But yeah, so when I was getting on Twitter, I was like, I am going to be an out atheist, because damn it, I finally realized I'm an atheist and I'm going to be out. And oh, fuck. Okay, none of my family's on Twitter. This is fantastic. I'm going to get on Twitter and be out on Twitter. And I'm not as out on Facebook. I have come out as an atheist on Facebook a couple of times, like on National Out Day, which was like for LGBTQ, and I'm pansexual, and so I was. I used to say bisexual because I was born in '78. Child of the 90s. That's what we used to say. But now apparently, like, I know it's cute. I love your laugh, Neil. You're so awesome. But like, apparently now that is being bi is considered. I just found this out. Like, dude, I'm 41. I learn shit every day, and sometimes we got to change. And so it's cool. It's totally cool. But apparently, sometimes now when people say bisexual, they mean I'm into men and women, but not transsexual people. And I don't. I am monogamous with this guy, and right. And that's how we roll. But I never excluded anybody. So I switched from bisexual, identifying as from bisexual to pansexual, because I don't include transsexual people. That's all good. I identify as a tomboy. Like I like I have long hair. I like makeup. I prefer jeans to dresses. I prefer boots to dress shoes. I'll wear heels if he thinks they're sexy and we're going to be out for a very short amount of time. That's the extent.
Of course they're sexy.
They are. And I agree with that. And they look really good on me, but they're not fun to wear at all.
I know. I've tried on a pair.
Thank you, sir. They're freaking painful.
It was for a Halloween thing one year, and I was falling all over the fucking place.
You're so
Mind
cool.
you, I was like 9 beers in at the time. So
well,
that's a great combination.
That is, and frankly, I can trip in heels stone cold sober, and I'm not. I've got a lovely Australian wine right here. It's a cheap one for here, but it's this is 19. Oh, sugar. Okay, there we go. 19.
There you go.
Cabernet Sauvignon right there. It's lovely. It is a lovely. The 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon. It's like $10.99 American dollars, and it's delicious. So if you like a decent cab,
$10.99. Let's see. That's about $397,000 in Canada.
Not at all. No. Oh my God.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I know. No, listen, dude. Okay, so you want the deconversion story? Or we could, because
That's why we're here. We're
know.
chit-chatting. It's okay. We always sidetrack. That's part of this whole charm of the show.
I want to hug you so much, and you're like, no, you're in a Provence, far away. I can't. All right, okay. All right, so
a long time ago in a galaxy.
A long time ago in 1978, in a decade far, far away. I was born the fourth and very unexpected. My mother was actually diagnosed with the flu twice because apparently doctors sucked in the 70s. I don't know. Right? They were like, oh, you're Catholic. You don't use birth control. Yeah, you have the flu. That's why you're born.
That must be it.
Seriously, 2 different doctors with the flu.
Doc, this flu bug's getting a little big.
Seriously, yeah. It's like I am exponentially gaining weight. I don't understand. Anyway, whatever. So I'm the youngest of 4 children. My 2 older siblings that I'm closest to are twins, Michael and Lisa. Oh, I wasn't gonna say their names. Well, shit, I already did it. Whatever. Thank you. You're supposed to tap me before I did that. It got past you. Okay, it's all right. Anyway, whatever. I have 2 older siblings.
I didn't hear it either, so it's all
you
good.
Didn't either. No one heard that. No one. IQ.
You didn't hear anything.
Sassy, no one. No, these are not the twins you're looking for. Anyway, I absolutely was convinced they were Jedi when I was a kid. So that's for Apologia. If he ever watches this, I'm right there with him. I was completely convinced that they were Jedi when I was a kid because they were like Luke and Leia. They were, Anyway, so and we have an older brother. So, anywho, point is, born into a Catholic family. I had 4 great uncles who were priests. One, this is the important thing that I want to get to.
How great?
My mother's uncles. So I'm a great aunt because one of my nephews has a kid, right?
Great uncle too.
You know this. Yeah. Oh, by the way, no, that's a fair point, Neil. Actually, now that you say it, 2 of them were truly great. They were awesome dudes. Miles is still alive. I love you. Wherever you are, I hope you never see this because it will break your heart. You're in a Franciscan monastery and you're in your 90s. But everyone else is dead, so they're fine. But no, 2 of them were absolutely lovely. Miles and Roman. Roman, I had to because when Catholics if they're clergy, they change their name when they become clergy. So yes. I always knew Uncle Roman, as Uncle Roman, and I had to go back and look at genealogy to find out that his name was Edgar, which I thought was so cool because it's like, oh, like Edgar Allan Poe. That's so freaking awesome, right? And then my grandpa, my own grandfather, went into the seminary at 14. He was in until he was in his early 20s, and luckily for me, he decided he did not have a vocation for the priesthood. Had that not happened, I would not be here. So from an atheist point of view, I mean, it's all amazing that any of us even exist. And then, from the religious aspect in my personal family, it's like had my grandfather and he was ostracized from his family for years for leaving the priesthood. But he did, and at some point he met my grandmother, who was from the German Catholic neighborhood in Louisville, Kentucky. I was born in Paducah, Kentucky, and I know all about Ken Ham and all of that bullshit. And yes, I donated. Shannon Q. Thank you so much. She's amazing. But
wait, is she in the chat?
Oh God, yeah, it's insane. And Paducah is a real place. It's between Possum Trot and Monkey's Eyebrow, Kentucky, and those are real places. You can look them up on a map.
No, I was asking if Shannon was in the chat.
I don't know, but if she is, I love you. That's okay.
No, I donated to that too, by the way.
Yeah, right. I saw you in there. Oh, it was so cool. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I was so thrilled that she did that because that's so cool. Where was I? Oh shit. Okay. Anyway, so Sorry. Okay, so and then I had a great uncle who was gay, but he couldn't say that, right? So if you're Catholic, and anybody who's watching this who was raised Roman Catholic, if you want to know about Eastern Orthodox Catholics, like Russian Orthodox, you need to talk to Christina Rad. She will tell you all about that. They're the ones that have the beautiful icons.
I met her. She's fucking awesome.
She is amazing, and I love her. Yeah, so talk to her about that. I can only talk about the Roman Catholic bit because that's what
she's
I
actually
know.
She's actually the one that recorded me and Genetically Modified Skeptic and Matt Dillahunty playing that song, and then uploaded
right
it.
on. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Oh gosh, she's amazing. Okay. Well, all right, so everybody stop thinking about the cute, adorable blonde woman right now, and I'm going to continue. I know it's hard because she's amazing, and it's probably hard, but just stop for a second and we'll go.
She said, ooh.
Right. He keeps me in check. It's lovely. So anyway,
here's everyone that's under the age of 18.
All right. So the point is that I'm making I'm sorry, guys, a lot of genealogy just to explain that the indoctrination, it's a cultural thing. And Neil, I think you can appreciate this because of the family you were adopted into, is that there's a lot of culture to being Jewish or to being Catholic. And there's a lot of stuff. Thank you. I'm sorry. Say that again.
So they're quite similar, like
Thank
culturally.
You. Yes.
It's all about the big families and the big dinners and all the food and the both like a Catholic mom and a Jewish mom be like, have you eaten enough? Here's a fucking like an entire turkey. Here, eat this. Like it's the same thing.
Nice girl.
And then they send you home with food care packages and and Band-Aids in case you drop it.
Totally. And this is why like Don and Jeanette. Anyway, whatever. This is why, like, my friends, like, we get each other because they're like, I was actually talking to a couple of friends about you last night over a couple of beers, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, he sounds is he Reformed? He sounds awesome." Like they were just, I was like, "Well, he's an atheist, but yeah, he was raised."
Yeah, I was Reformed.
Yeah, raised. Okay, I thought so. Yeah, sorry, dude, but no, I'm not sorry.
Going to synagogue was more like let's see what everyone's wearing, the new fashions, and then it was more, everyone got into the singing, and then it was all about the food and coffee afterwards.
Right? And the food is amazing.
That sounds very Methodist, actually.
Yes, and very Catholic. Like, that's the good part. That's the good part.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So here's what happened. Okay, so the problem with me was, I liked boys and I liked girls.
Yeah, best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, it's problematic when you're raised Catholic or Christian or Jewish or anything. Pretty much Muslim. Yeah, it's a problem. Yes. So I anything but neo-pagan, it's a problem. So I remember chanting in my head at 14 in 8th grade, I like boys, I like boys, I like boys, I like boys, because I was so terrified of going to hell for finding girls attractive as well. And I've had girlfriends and I've had boyfriends and all of that since I came out of that. But that was one of the chinks in the armor for me. But a lot of it was just, I remember asking questions like I remember pissing off my PRE teacher, which is parish religious education, which is for Catholic kids who don't go to Catholic school but go to public school in the States. We take a night a week and go learn our catechism, right? So I remember saying, they must have reckoned time differently because no one lives to be 600.
Or 900.
Like, that makes no sense. Yeah, or 900. Thank you. Yeah. Like Methuselah, Noah, none of this makes any sense, right? And I remember telling my parents about how, well, the whole I was like, have you seen Star Trek? Because Spock talks about the expulsion from paradise as remembrance of that all things end, right? So this was a primitive people trying to figure out why life is hard. And my parents were like, yeah, allegory, that works, sure. But the thing is, if the Garden of Eden story isn't true, there's no need for Jesus, and there's no need for any of that. But I didn't think of that at the time.
I've always said,
And
that entire story is horseshit. And the reason is if God is all-knowing, as he is claimed to be, then he would have known ahead of time that all of this shit was going to happen. He would have known that Adam and Eve were going to fall. He would have known that Satan would have taken the form of a serpent and gone into the garden to convince them, or her first, and then all of that would have been already known to him. But he went ahead with it anyways. So it's a setup.
Exactly. I would have sacrificed, like Matt Dillon said, I would sacrifice myself to fix a problem that I created. It makes no sense.
Create the disease and then create the cure to sell you.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, something that Methodists and Catholics and my Reformed Jewish friends and possibly you have in common, depending on when you were, when you went through this, because I've heard this from people here, but I don't know. It depends on your age and your place in the world.
I'm old.
You're fucking hot. I'm not calling you old, to be clear. You are adorable. But the point is that we go through confirmation, right?
Yeah, I don't do confirmation.
Yeah, we go through confirmation. Okay, so we go through confirmation.
I had a bar mitzvah.
And I did that. I'm sorry?
I said I had a bar mitzvah. We don't do the confirmation thing in Judaism.
Oh, bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs are lovely. That's so cool. Okay.
A lot of good loot.
Some point, and my person out there, if he's watching, he knows who I'm talking about. They did that at one point in the States. And it was kind of like it was some weird reform, like the Catholic Church with the De Caloris thing. Like they did the whole, we're going to speak in tongues and shit. It's weird. I can't. That's beside the point, and I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry. Anyway, point is, I went through confirmation. Yeah, thank you. In 8th grade. Because they tell you in 8th grade, when you're 14, this is your choice. You are choosing a saint's name to add to your name. Mine was Joan of Arc, which is kind of badass, but also still fucked up because they keep telling you it's your choice. It's your choice, but you're going to classes 3 times a week with other kids to reinforce the indoctrination and the programming that's already in here, right?
And what's your realistic alternative?
Thank you. What's my realistic alternative? Disappoint my parents?
I had.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we do it in 6th grade.
Oh, 6th grade? Jesus.
So in 6th grade, they tell you,
I think there's a song title there.
Yeah.
Right?
Jesus.
Because I felt like when I was 17.
And they tell you, this is a decision that will affect the rest of your life. You better be absolutely sure. I'm like, I'm in 6th grade. I don't know what.
I don't know if I want to be a cowboy or an astronaut at this point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Exactly. Like, do I want to be an archaeologist like Indiana Jones, or do I want to be an astronaut? Like, what the fuck? It's insane. So
I wanted to be a Looney Tunes character.
I wanted to be a fur bearer biologist, but they didn't teach evolution in my public school in Kentucky. They taught the controversy. Of course not. Yeah, it's fucked up. Anyway, I love you. Anyway, it's insane. But okay, so the point is, when you're, and Neil, the reason I mention this is because I think some of the people watching, and I think you too, like, might identify with some of this, is that you kind of, when I was 17, I was like, okay, the three vocations for a Catholic woman in life are one, I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep this in the frame. It's very small. Okay. One, I can be single and celibate. Fuck that. I had already hit puberty. I did not want to be celibate. Hell no.
No going back.
No, there is no going back. I am and by the way, no offense to any ace individuals out, you're amazing and you be you, but I am not that. So yeah, I needed the stuff. So anyway, and the second one is the clergy. So be a nun or a sister. Sisters, for those of you who don't know, act in the world. Nuns are cloistered in convents, so that's the difference. But I could make a vow, become a literal bride of Christ, because like he doesn't have enough. I don't know. It makes no sense to me to this day. They don't really talk about it.
The harem to end all harems.
Exactly. Yeah. It really is. Like if this dude exists and an afterlife exists, he has more pussy than anyone could ever handle. Way more. Okay. Or I could get married, lose my virginity on my wedding night when I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in terms of fucking. And hopefully
so much for monetization
with that one person. And by the way,
and then babies.
And I have to have, it's in the vows in a Catholic marriage. The vows are, will you accept children from God?
Really?
And yes. And my mother, now this is, no, I shouldn't tell this. That's not my story to tell. Some very compassionate priests will tell a woman who has been given bad advice by her doctor. I mean, not bad advice, I apologize. Good advice by her, bad doctrine-wise, that you to have any more children. It's dangerous to your life, and you and your baby may not survive it. In that case, there are good priests out there who will tell a Catholic woman, you need to do what you need to do to keep your marriage happy. That's what God wants. If that means using birth control, use birth control. But the official message is no birth control ever. So, yeah. And I never wanted kids, ever. And I knew that about myself. I never wanted kids. I haven't wanted kids since I was about 6 years old and like playing with dolls. I didn't want kids. So that was tricky. But I really like sex.
I thought he was tricky.
Yeah, he is.
Way to bring it back around.
Well, apparently,
before you carry on, Julie, before you carry on, I have to answer a question that Mark Caesar in the chat asked me directly. So, Mark,
please.
This is called a Yeti, and you can find they have a website, and it is. I'll kind of show you what it looks like. It this not that it takes 4 hours to drink a beer, but it is literally lined and there's like some sort of foam inside between the outer and the inner casing, and it will keep your beer ice cold, like you brought it out of the fridge for 4 hours. But it does not take me 4 hours to drink a beer. Unless I'm really nursing it.
Unless it's like this fantastic beer that you don't want to. Okay, I need to. I gotta hurry up.
They also come with a fake can with the top that pops off that you can put your weed in it, like I do.
Oh, badass!
So it comes all together.
That it had a false bottle.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, IQ, if you're still here, I imagine, go to the Yeti website and post a link to one of these. They're called beer cozies or whatever the fuck they're called, and Mark can check it out. Anyways, carry on, Jill.
Oh, thanks, sir. And IQ, you better be here, man. You're like you're my emotional.
He's here.
Support.
He's here.
Okay, good.
He's already posted links to your guys'. He's already posted links to your guys' Twitters.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay, no, I'm sorry. Okay, so Junkshop, not your actual name, just reminded me that we haven't even gotten to my first deconversion. So here's the deal. So I get confirmed. I take the saint name Joan. It's this whole really, honestly, kind of spooky and cool, like ritual thing, where they take you up and your confirmation sponsor puts his or her hand on your shoulder. Mine was a lady, and she said, "May I present Jean, because I was Jeanne d'Arc, because I was taking Joan of Arc." So technically, according to the Catholic Church, my name is, actually, I probably shouldn't give my whole name, but my name is Julie blank Joan Lavoice, right? And it's not legal. It's not legal, but it's one of those things on the bite model. If you watch Telltale or anybody else, like, do they change your
I
name?
do.
Yes.
I'm very good friends with Owen, actually.
I love Owen. He's fantastic. Hi, Owen. If you ever watch this, he's amazing and lovely. And he did the Catholic Church he did a bite model thing on the Catholic Church, and I was like, oh, thank you so much. So it was fun, fantastic. But anyway, okay.
I'm not crazy. It was a cult.
Right, exactly. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. It was a fucking cult, because it was. But the thing is, when you're brought up in it, and this is where I thought maybe, Neil, you could identify a little bit. When you're brought up with the culture and the food and the, like we could, I was a Eucharistic minister as a teen.
Wow.
As a teenager, I was an altar girl before that was allowed. I was allowed to be an altar girl because we had a very progressive priest at our church, which I should not say the name of, but I want to because fuck the Catholic Church so hard in the face. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm really angry about all the child raping, but
yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, I am. I'm really fucking angry, and I'm done. I'm done.
That's one of my things that I go to when people like S.J. Thomason or whatever talk about, God is this, God is that. Yeah, you know what he is? He's a fucking slacking asshole, because all those children, the thousands that have been praying to him for this to stop, and he's not answered them, fuck him.
Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, guys, for anyone who doesn't know, we've known about this forever. I remember my parents talking about this in the 80s when I was in second grade. And 1984, my parents were talking about how that these priests, they prey on children and they move them from parish to parish to parish. Yep. And then the new parish doesn't know. And yeah, we knew. All right. We fucking knew. And the church did nothing. And
no, that's not strictly true. The church did not do nothing.
No,
the church exacerbated the problem.
Thank you.
Facilitated it. Made it worse.
And made it worse. They are, and guys, if you don't watch Scathing Atheist, you should, or listen to, sorry, not a visual medium, sorry. But if you listen to Scathing Atheist, when they call them an international criminal cabal, that is not hyperbole. It's not.
That's right. That's right.
And I came out of that culture, and I'm telling you it's not. But I came out of it because I read the Bible when I was 17. Because I was looking at these three paths, right? I could be single and celibate, clergy and celibate, or I could be a virgin until I got married, lose my virginity on my wedding night. Ow. And yeah, I mean, let's be real, like biology. And hopefully that was the right guy, right? And also I dug chicks, and so it was really hard. I couldn't, I couldn't see that happening. So I was like, okay, well, this is just doctrine, right? This is just shit written by men. Whatever. I'm going to read the Bible and
written by men? No kidding.
I know. I was 17. I'm not saying I was smart, okay? I was 17 and young.
I don't feel good about these teachings, so I'm going to read the Bible.
So I'm going to read the Bible to feel better about it, yeah. Or to find my own personal Trinity or the fuck ever. And by the way, Ocean Keltoy's video on the Trinity is amazing. It's awesome. But yeah, so I'm watching the Bible, read it cover to cover, and at the end, Neil, I was like, I don't care if Yahweh exists. I don't believe that Jesus was divine. He always said, I am the Son of Man. He never said he was the Son of God. Fuck this noise. It's all about genocide and rape and misogyny, and I will not worship that. That is not deserving of
don't forget
worship.
infanticide.
I don't even this. I don't forget infanticide. Thank you. Infanticide. Yeah. Awesome. Yay. And by the way, Christians out there who that abortion is wrong. Yeah, Yahweh was the first abortionist. So you need to read your fucking scripture and stop fucking with my reproductive rights. I live in Tennessee. You need to fuck off. Okay, so sorry. Anyway, so then, thank you. So
David Worley says he accidentally hit a bollock. Pray for me. I've sat on one of my nuts many times, David. It sucks.
That has to be unpleasant. Outside genitalia, that's intelligent design, right?
Yeah, right.
What the fuck? Seriously? External genitalia.
Well, what do we supposed? What do we have? Storage compartment?
Look,
hang on, just let me get my dick.
There we go. I like all the chocolates in the box. Don't get me wrong, but seriously, external genitalia. If you can sit on your nuts, that's bad. Like I'm a cis woman, so I don't know.
Chocolate nuts.
But I have ridden horses. I've sat on my share of fence posts. Have wrecked myself. It can happen. And having said that, like as a woman, as a cis woman with a clitoris that got hurt, like yeah, bad. Okay, anyway, so moving on. Okay, so at 17, all right, I'm like, fuck this God, he sucks. But at the same time, I'd only met one other atheist in my life. I was in theater at the Market House Theater in Paducah, Kentucky, which is an amazing theater. It has a great program for kids called Footlights. It was so cool. Joel and I were both in it, but luckily we were not at the same time because he's 6 years younger, and I probably never would have seen him as more than like one of the little kids if we'd met then. So I'm glad we didn't. Sorry. Oh fuck! I said his name.
Move on.
Okay, moving on. Anyway, nobody.
You said it so fast. It didn't even register. So
it didn't. Junkshop did the thing.
So anyway,
yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so we did this. Yeah. Oh fuck. Okay. So anyway, all right. I love you. Thank you.
Tell the story.
All right, I'm telling my story. All right. So I ran to neo-paganism, right? Which is fantastic. If you're
that's
horny.
What I did too.
Right, me too. Thank you, and I knew that about you, which is why I really wanted to do this because I knew you'd understand.
That's how me and R and Raw hit it off so good.
Right, right. R and Raw has taught me more about evolution than the Kentucky public school system ever did. By the way, and
yeah, that's so not surprising.
I am so grateful for him and his wife. They are amazing. They're amazing human beings and science communicators. But yeah, so I ran.
Lalandra's awesome.
I'm sorry.
I said yes. Lalandra's awesome.
Yes, Lalandra. She's lovely and so kind and amazing and so smart. Oh gosh. Okay, I could gush for days, but I'm not going to. Okay, because we have time. Okay, so
you might get low on fluids.
Right? I have fluids. I'm fine.
Okay.
Water's bad for you. What?
No, it's not.
I'm French. It's fine. I've been drinking wine. I was a Eucharistic minister when I was
water in
a
there.
kid. It's fine. Choose wine left. You have most blood of Christ left to drink over after Mass is done, and you can't pour the blood of Christ down the drain. That's sacrilege. So Actual fucking kidding. Okay, I ran screaming to neo-paganism, and because I could be myself, I could be pansexual at the time, bisexual, but it was the 90s. I could be bisexual. I could, there was no shame. There was no everyone was accepted, like gay, straight, bi, what the fuck ever. Like we didn't care.
It didn't matter.
And all.
I said it didn't matter.
Well, it didn't matter. Exactly. Thank you. And also, great way to get laid when you're 19.
Yeah.
I mean, when the horned one comes, it comes. What are you going to do?
I'm not saying I didn't take advantage of that back in the day.
Yeah, well, I know, but just to show off my neo-pagan cred here, I've got it.
There you go.
Yep.
Awesome.
And
I have Dizzy Devil. It's about as close as it gets.
And this is an artist rendition of oh, nice, Neil.
It was free because I gave the guy a bunch of posters for his tattoo shop, so he did it for free.
Oh, nice. Man, I'm so jealous. Oh,
I like the Raven. That's cool.
The Raven, thank you. I do too. That was a really good artist that did that. And I've gotten all of my tattoos at the same shop. It's Underground Ink in Memphis, Tennessee. Their website is makingmamaproud.com. So check that out if you're ever in town. They're amazing.
So Sassy wants her wrench back. You asked me to take it away from you. Why do you want it back now, Sassy?
Did I offend you, Cassie? Hello.
No. She didn't want to be. She didn't want to get timed out. I think Jim Majors timed her out or something.
Oh,
I don't. Oh my God, how does this even work? Ah. Wow. Okay. So I was neo-pagan for a long time, and frankly, it's lovely to go from a religion that denigrates women and is a bit misogynistic to one that says, "Oh no, goddesses are amazing, and the horned one is the consort to the goddess." And it's. I mean, Neil, you were there.
I know.
I know. I don't know how much I should explain, but also like it was great because I could fit it in this weird fucking way. And all love to Ocean and all of my neo-pagan friends. In fact, a dear friends of mine married us in a secular ceremony, and they're a priest and priestess. They're Wiccan priest and priestesses, and she was my matron of honor, and her husband married us because he's ordained in the state of Tennessee to marry people. So.
I had a Wiccan wedding too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I left her 3 months later because I found out she was doing coke and other dudes.
Oh, gross.
Oh,
gross. No, you did the right
thing. Good combination.
I am so sorry.
And telling her kids to lie to me about all of it.
She had kids and she was doing coke?
Yep.
I mean, I've done coke, but I don't have any kids.
I did it accidentally once. It smoked in a joint. I have no interest in doing it.
I did meth accidentally once. It was horrible. It was the worst experience of my life.
I like my beer and my doobies.
Not just like worst. Thank you. Kids, seriously, like not just the worst experience of my drug experience of my life doing meth. I thought I was in a very bad place, very stupid, young 20, bought some coke, turned out, and it was very bad. Don't do that shit. It's horrible. It was, yeah. Anyway, gross. Seriously, like just smoke some weed. It's fine. Weed is fine. Eat some mushrooms. You can't OD on that. It's fine.
I got a really good strain right now. Got a really good strain right now called Jet Fuel. It's a sativa blend that just gets you nice and right in the head, but you don't lose you don't get all fatigued. You got all the energy still. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
No, I get migraines.
By the way,
lovely for that.
This here is the best app you can get for finding out about weed strains. It's called Leafy. And it has any and every one of them listed in its database. And if you ever want to know anything at all about a specific strain of weed, like hash bud or like I said, Jet Fuel or Rockstar or Wheelchair or whatever, it'll tell you all this. It'll tell you all the health specs. It'll tell you all the effects. It'll tell you all the negative effects. It'll give you the whole thing. And it's called Leafy. Download it if you're a pot smoker.
I will. He's allergic, so only edibles.
I'm so sorry.
Happen and they're legal. They're legal. I'm saying for the state of Tennessee because I've said I live there, and I do. I live in Memphis, so yeah, blah. But if they're ever legal here, only edible. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So, but the thing. Go ahead.
They're going on about mushrooms are amazing. I hate mushrooms. They make me sick every time. LSD does.
Oh, no,
I can't do that shit.
I got them once when I was 19, and it was just a really beautiful experience. I'm 41, I haven't done some, I don't know. The only thing is, though, I did do a lot of research before I did them because I do that, and I'm paranoid, and I don't like take drugs unless I know what they are, unless someone sells me meth that they say is coke. Fuck. Don't do that. Anyway, but just don't do cocaine. It's fucked up. Don't do it.
It's fine.
Yeah, seriously. So anyway, but so I did, and you have to eat, it's like weed. You have to eat your own body weight in psilocybin mushrooms in order to OD on them, and that is physically impossible. Like you will start vomiting before you can do that. So, yay. But I had a very beautiful experience. Everyone was beautiful. I was beautiful. It was a really, I was blowing a smoke into a beam, and it looked like legions of dragons flying beam. I'm not saying do drugs, kids, people. Fuck. I'm saying do drugs. That's totally what I'm saying. Anyway,
the expressions and opinions of others on my channel do not necessarily reflect my own.
Thank you. There we go. I needed a safety net, Neil. Thank you so much. No, and also, by the way, I did this once. Stop expressing those opinions. I did this once when I was 19. I am 41 years old. Okay, have not done it since. It was lovely. Do not want a bad experience, so I haven't done it since, and I've never done LSD. It actually, Neil, this is something else I wanted to bring up. It leads me to mental illness stuff. Want to go there?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. The reason that I ran toward neo-paganism after getting out of Catholicism after I read the Bible was when I was 4 years old. I had this horrible experience where I got very, very cold. I woke up and this horrible, creepy, darker than dark, like pitch black thing with kind of the suggestion of a head and a tattered remnants at the back flew over my face and I couldn't move. Now, any of your audience who has experienced sleep paralysis will recognize what I just described immediately.
I've experienced it.
There we go.
There was no dark figures or anything. I couldn't do anything. That's all I remember.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. But I had not, and I was 4. And in our house, you did not wake up mom and dad unless you were bleeding profusely or a bone was broken. That was because I mean, in all fairness, they had 4 kids. Yeah, I mean it's fair. You know, they weren't being cruel. It was fair. You know, they had a lot going on. So I when I could move, I rolled off of the couch. And because I had come into the living room to sleep on the couch because I was having a bad night and I was scared in my own room by myself, and I could see the street light in the window, and then the sleep paralysis thing happened. But the thing is, I didn't learn about sleep paralysis until I was 39 years old. I didn't know what that was. Yeah, seriously. I mean, I'm fucking ignorant, man. I'm sorry. I just didn't know what it was. And I was watching a show and somebody talked about sleep, like seeing, like they described what sleep paralysis was. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. So the other thing you need to know about me is that I'm bipolar, which I also didn't know at the time. Certainly not when I was 4.
You're what?
And I'm bipolar.
Bipolar, okay.
I'm bipolar too.
My mom is too.
Aw. I love to your mom. It's not fun, but it is manageable.
She's in Africa right now, hanging out with the gorillas with her boyfriend.
Hells yeah. Well, you know, we don't do anything that way.
Now, well, that's very true,
right?
She told me, she goes, I was told I'm not supposed to look them in the eyes. I go, well, you shouldn't really, but you can communicate with them, but just don't stare at them in the eyes. You can glance, but don't stare. Because that's aggressive to them, and they will come right at you.
Not if you want to come back.
Yes. Is your mom okay? Have you spoken to her recently? I'm suddenly very concerned about your mom.
I did get an email from her yesterday.
Okay.
She's all right. She's only been there for a couple days, so.
Okay. Well, then, you know, when I was in my neo-pagan phase, we did some rituals where we were summoning fairies, and I was like, did you guys see that glowing ball of bright sparking light that kept changing? And everybody was like, no, we didn't. And I was like, I did. And they were like, that's awesome. And I was like, is it? I don't know. And that, so eventually when I was 33, I went to therapy and got diagnosed and found out what was wrong with me. And also found out that you can be bipolar and have hallucinations and also, and then around the same time, yeah, exactly. And and I'd had 2 MRIs at that point to make sure that it wasn't like a tumor or a neurological problem. Like it was definitely, no, I just saw stuff sometimes. Oh my gosh, I use my real name. I hope this doesn't get back to my work. Anyway, so point is, now I see a doctor's regularly, and I'm good. I am, I'm well taken care of. Anyone who might be concerned. But this is the thing that just ignorance and what you're brought up with can do, because I thought I had good reasons for believing in ghosts. I thought I had good reasons for believing in fucking fairies. And I actually did believe in fairies. It sounds crazy. But I
really,
had
lots
seen
of people
them.
do.
Yeah, thank you. But I mean, it's like, and then Julia Sweeney did that great show, like Letting Go of God, right? And that helped. But you know what really got me about all of this shit critically? Was I was watching Tim Minchin, and he did a bit about. He's a genius, and he did a bit about bumper stickers. And it was the first one was the goddesses dancing, and I was like, oh, I had that one, because he was making fun of Christians the whole time, and I was like, fucking Christians, dumbass, and I was totally like, I was all with it. I'm like 38 years old at this point. I'm married to my second husband, because I finally got over the Catholic thing about like divorce is only for other people. Like I was like, no, this guy, my first husband, not you. I love you. I just really gestured at him. The other guy was a jerk, and he was mean and abusive, and I left, and now I'm much better dude. Okay, point is, so I'm watching Tim Minchin, and this is Conversers in So Live, by the way, if you want to know. And Tim, not that you're watching, I wish you were, but if you are, I do buy.
He doesn't know I exist.
I'm gonna go see him. We're gonna go see him in Scotland in
well, then
November.
tell him I exist.
I will. I absolutely will. I'll be like, dude, you have no idea. You've got people who love you in Canada, like Neil, the 604 Atheist.
Tell him to come on my channel.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I will. I will totally. And you know what? He's so sweet. If he has time, he might.
Yeah.
If he has time. He's crazy busy, but like, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. So he does this bit. He does this bit about bumper stickers, right? And he talks about the goddesses dancing, and I'm like, oh, I had the bumper sticker. Oh my god! And then he named another one, and I was like, I had that one too. Fuck. And then he talks about like debunking these bumper stickers, and then he talks about critical thinking. And at the time, I'm a professor of English composition, and I'm trying to teach people how to think critically about literature and arguments, and I'm teaching them fallacies and what they are, at them in an argument in a paper, and I'm like, oh, fuck me running. Okay, so I was like, okay, all right, it's cool. If my belief in gods and goddesses, if that's unwarranted, I'll know, and if not, it'll stand up, right? So I take my critical thinking skills and I apply that to my neo-paganism. Love you, Ocean. I'm sorry. And within like 7 days, I turned to you and I said, I think I'm an atheist. And you said, what did you say? You were very afraid.
I was afraid that like you'd caught it from me, essentially.
Like a virus.
No, that's more like religion.
No, exactly. Like he married this like wooey. By the way, we'd been married for like 3 years at that point. 3 years,
Something like
something
that.
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, and we lived together like a year and a half before that. Yeah, we've been together a while, and he knew that I was a practicing neo-pagan witch who practiced sometimes. You know, I lit a candle on the solstice or whatever, but you know, I wasn't doing a lot of stuff.
You were about as observant as most Christians.
I was, and my family were not like Christian. They were not Easter and Christmas Christians. They were every freaking Sunday and Wednesday and or Sunday night Christians. Like yeah, but no, I was not super observant as a pagan, which is funny because it's like full moon, new moon, and like 4 times a year major sabbats, you know.
Solstices and
Yeah,
equinoxes.
solstice and the equinox and it's not a big anyway. So so I wasn't super observant, but he married me knowing I was into all this wooey shit, right? And he was an atheist, and he was like, your first words were, "Did I do this to you?" He was so concerned. He was like, "Did I do this? I'm so sorry. I didn't." And I was like, "No, man. I've just been thinking in my."
That's usually what happens. You start thinking, and it's all over.
Right. And that is essentially what happened. But I do want to say that I feel the need. And if you'll excuse me, if you'll indulge me, Neil, for 2 seconds, I just want to say that, like, to Ocean Caltoy and to all of my, neo-pagan brothers and sisters out there, like, y'all are amazing. They don't proselytize. They don't go out and they don't evangelize. They're like, hey, if you find us, it's because you were meant to. So it's whatever it is. And it was good for me at the time. And it was an excellent community, and it was incredibly supportive. And I still have many friends who know. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay, cool.
But let's put it this way. They are more on our side than regular
They really are.
Abrahamic religion. Right? They're more humanistic than any of them will ever be.
Absolutely. Yes, they are. Because they don't, they're like, no, we don't want it. We want separation of church and state because they used to kill us. Like, we don't, it's not, the math is not hard on this one.
No, and, they literally are lumped in with us. So
exactly. Yeah. Because people don't accept them as a real religion. And right. So like all of those folks
devil worshiping.
Yeah, right? Yeah, or it's devil worship. Fuck that. That's so silly.
Guess what, Theist? Devil isn't real either.
Yeah. No, seriously, like I came out to my parents in my 20s twice that I was neo-pagan and thought I was a practicing witch, and they're just like, oh, it's fine, whatever. Like, when you're ready, the Lord will lead you back. And now they're 77. Yeah, right. And it's like, I'm not gonna tell them. My mom is in the early stages of dementia. My dad, they both have heart disease. I'm not gonna fuck with them now. I'm not gonna go and tell them I don't believe in God now. But I am out to my siblings, and they are. I can't say that they're cool with it because they do worry. It is out of love. It's not. They don't hound me or anything like that. We've had some really cool conversations, like some really interesting conversations. But it, I'm out with everybody but my mom and dad, essentially. And it's just because it would do more harm than good. And I'm a humanist. I don't want it to do harm. So, okay, that's it. They
don't need to know.
They don't. They really don't. It would just hurt them. They literally turned 77 yesterday. They had the same birthday. I did. It's a whole story. I'll say it in the after show if anybody cares.
Oh, I was just going to ask you if you guys were down for an after party.
Oh, we are so down.
Yeah, I could tell you've had enough wine, so it's good. All right, you guys. Thank you, Julie and Junk Shop. Or Tricky.
Yeah. Neil, thank you so much. You are such a lovely human being, and you're always so kind. And thank you. I was so nervous about all of this, and you're just lovely.
Never be nervous. Never be nervous. I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I'm pretty good at making people unnervous, as I've been told.
You truly are.
Well, thank you guys, both of you guys, for sharing your stories with us. Even though Junk Shops was pretty much here we go, and that's how it happened. And then Julie's was like, here we go, and that's how it happened. But I get it. I get it.
I talk a lot. My last name is.
That's okay. That's okay. We've actually gone over an hour for this one, which is good. I like it.
Okay. That didn't fuck you up?
No, hell no. I've done some of these, some people I've spoken with, it's gone an hour and a half. So it just depends on how involved the stories are, right? So
can I say one really quick thing?
Sure.
I said the Tim Minchin thing, and then after I told Junk Shop that I was an atheist, I started listening to Seth Andrews incessantly, the Thinking Atheist podcast. Started because that would be reading blog. I love to read, but it would be the Thinking Atheist wine. Anyway, whatever. Fuck. Seth Andrews. I wore this shirt because he was the first outspoken atheist podcast that I ever listened to. Incessantly.
Awesome. He's similar to me.
Yeah.
It was him and Sam Harris, I think, and then I stumbled on the Atheist Experience, and the rest is history.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, and actually, Junk Shop bought me this shirt as a present, so it's very special.
That's awesome. I've had Seth on my show. I don't know if you know.
I know. I watched it. It was a great one. Yeah, he's awesome.
It was a good one.
And you're awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. Somebody actually left a comment saying if I could just listen to the voices of Neil and Seth, they said that's all that matters for some reason. I guess they put me on par with Seth because he's got a very soothing voice, and I agree with that.
He does, and so do you.
And the people were telling me that it's like listening to two of the most apropos for radio type voices. And of course, I come back. Well, yep, my mom always said I had a face for radio.
No disrespect to your mother. Hi, love you, Neil's mom. But seriously, no, you have a lovely voice, sir.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, thank you both for coming on and sharing with us today. I really appreciate that, and I had a really good time with you guys. As I suspected. And Junk Shop, man, keep up those videos because I listen to them quite often when I'm at work at the lab, and I always turn around and catch you with those funny-ass facial expressions when you read one of the most disturbing lines or something. I get these
Seriously, when he pauses, that's when you got to click over and look at it, because you're like, if he repeats something or pauses, click over and look, because he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I've seen that shit before, and it's hilarious. Guys, I have links to both Junk Shop and Julie's Twitter, and I also have a link to Junk Shop's YouTube channel below. I highly recommend you subscribe to it because he's hysterical, especially when he does the Bible reading stuff and his commentary on that. Just it gets me every time. If anyone would like to join us in the after party, let me know it in Twitter and messages. I will also dump a link into my usual suspects so anyone who happens to be in that group can join us as well.
If you join us in the after party, I might show another tattoo.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Is it in one of those those areas?
I'm sure. Yeah, completely.
This is a picture of a guy mowing the lawn. No.
And I didn't have to tattoo the tiger. I didn't have to tattoo the grass. That was it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. That's it for this edition of Deconversion Stories. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But we'll be back shortly, probably within the next 10 minutes with an after party, because I usually like to go out and have a quick cigarette because I can't smoke inside, unfortunately.
Go smoke, sir. We were being very good and not smoking during the thing.
Well, I could probably take a hoot off one of my roaches over there, too. Anyways, should be a lot of fun. Oh, cannabis. I mean, Canada. Anyways, that's the end of the show, guys. So I'm going to bring this one to a close so we can jump into an after party as soon as possible. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me, too.
Oh, so much. Thank you.
Awesome. That makes me feel good. Until next time, guys, remember what I always say at the end of these things. Like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.